6 out of 10 tomato problems that home gardeners face every summer share the exact same root cause. And the solution costs less than $50 for the entire growing season. If you are watching this right now, chances are something is going wrong with your tomatoes. Maybe you found a dark spot spreading across the bottom of your best fruit. Maybe your flowers keep falling off before they set a single tomato. Maybe leaves are curling, turning yellow, or your heirlooms are cracking wide open right before they are ready to pick. I have been there. And so have millions of gardeners across the country, because July is the month when tomato problems hit their absolute peak. Here is the thing most people do not realize. Tomatoes are the #1 vegetable grown in home gardens across America, and yet they are also the #1 source of frustration. You spend months nurturing them from tiny seedlings, watering, feeding, staking them up, and then right when they should be rewarding you with juicy red fruit, things start going sideways. It feels personal. But it is not. The good news is that most of what you are seeing on your plants right now is not a disease. It is not contagious. According to research from the University of Minnesota Extension, 8 out of the 10 most common tomato problems are physiological disorders caused by environmental conditions like water, temperature, and sunlight, not by any pathogen. That means you can fix them by simply changing how you care for your plants. Only 2 are actual diseases that require a different approach. In this video, I will walk you through all 10 of the most common summer tomato problems and give you a clear, practical solution for each one. I have organized everything into 4 groups. First, the water group, where 6 problems trace back to one watering mistake almost everyone makes. Then sun-related issues, followed by the one garden pest that can strip your plant overnight and how to find it using a $15 trick. And finally, the leaf diseases that can threaten your entire garden if you do not catch them early. If you are growing tomatoes this summer, consider subscribing. Every week I share practical, science-backed solutions to help you grow more food with less stress and less money. No product pitches, just real gardening knowledge. All right, let us start with the biggest group, the water problems. Because once you understand this single connection, you will look at your tomato garden in a completely different way. Let us start with the problem that causes more panic than any other. You walk out to the garden, pick up your first tomato of the season, turn it over, and there it is. A dark, sunken, leathery patch spreading across the bottom. This is blossom end rot, and it is the single most misunderstood problem in all of home gardening. You go online, search for answers, and almost every result tells you the same thing. Your soil is low on calcium. Add eggshells. Buy a calcium spray. But the real science tells a very different story. Researchers at the University of Georgia spent years studying this at the molecular level, and what they found is this. In the vast majority of home gardens, the soil already has plenty of calcium. The problem is that the plant cannot deliver it to the fruit. Calcium only moves through a tomato plant when water moves through its roots. Think of water as the delivery truck and calcium as the package. If the truck does not show up on time, the package never arrives. When you water inconsistently, the calcium delivery system breaks down and the cells at the blossom end collapse and die. This is exactly why eggshells do not work. They take months to break down in soil. Even if your soil needed more calcium, eggshells do nothing for the tomato rotting on your vine right now. So what actually fixes it? First, water deeply and consistently, about 1 inch per week, ideally with a soaker hose or drip line. These cost about $15 to $25 and are the single best investment for your tomato garden. Second, mulch around each plant with a 2 to 3 inch layer of straw or shredded leaves. Mulch slows evaporation and prevents the moisture swings that cause the problem. Third, use fertilizer low in nitrogen but high in phosphorus, something like a 4:1:4 ratio. And for a mid-season fix, spray 4 tablespoons of calcium chloride per gallon of water on the leaves, early morning or late evening only. Most importantly, If your first few tomatoes have blossom end rot, do not pull the plant. This is common on the earliest fruit. Fix your watering, add mulch, and the next round will come out clean. Now, problem number 2 has the exact same cause. You have been watching a tomato ripen for days, and then one morning you find it split wide open. This is fruit cracking, and it happens when the inside swells with water faster than the skin can stretch. The classic scenario is hot, dry days followed by sudden heavy rain. The roots absorb a rush of water, the fruit expands, and the skin bursts. The fix is steady watering and mulch, same as before. But here is a trick most beginners never think of. When your tomatoes start showing color, just beginning to turn pink, pick them. Let them finish ripening on your kitchen counter. Tomatoes ripen perfectly well off the vine at the breaker stage, and harvesting early protects them from cracking if a rainstorm rolls through. Are you seeing the pattern? Blossom end rot and cracking. 2 problems, same cause, same solution. And now problem number 3 completes the picture. Your plants look healthy, flowers appear on schedule, and then one by one those flowers drop off without setting fruit. This is blossom drop. The main trigger is nighttime temperature. Tomatoes need nights between 55 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit to pollinate successfully. Above 75, pollen dies. Below 55, flowers fall off before pollination begins. But here is where many gardeners make a critical mistake. They start pruning leaves, thinking it reduces stress. This is the worst thing you can do during a heat wave. That canopy is shading your flowers and fruit from direct sunlight. Cut it away, and you get sun scald within days, plus you lose the leaf area the plant needs to recover. The most effective fix is hanging a shade cloth with 30 to 40% density over your plants during the worst heat. Combine that with deep watering and mulch to keep roots cool. And above all, be patient. Tomato plants are incredibly resilient. When nights cool down even a few degrees, they will push out new flowers and start setting fruit again. They are not dead. They are waiting. Before we leave the water group, 2 more quick problems. First, leaf roll. Lower leaves, curling upward like tiny green tubes. It looks alarming, but in most cases, it is just your plant defending itself against drought. The plant curls its leaves to reduce surface area and slow water loss. If the leaves are still green, relax. Water more consistently and it will stop on its own. Only worry if curling comes with yellowing and stunted growth, which could signal a virus. Second, poor fruit set. Beautiful plant, lots of leaves, very few tomatoes. This almost always means too much nitrogen. The plant puts all its energy into growing bigger instead of producing fruit. Switch to a tomato-specific fertilizer with lower nitrogen and try gently shaking the flower clusters on still days to help release pollen. Now let us shift to the next 3 problems, all caused by the sun. The good news is they are mostly cosmetic. Your tomatoes look less than perfect, but the fruit is still safe to eat. Sun scald happens when fruit is exposed to intense sunlight too long. You see a pale white patch on the sun-facing side that becomes sunken and papery. It usually shows up after heavy pruning removes too much leaf canopy. The fix is simple. Keep enough foliage to shade your fruit. If your plant has already lost its leaves, drape a shade cloth over it. Mild sun scald with no mold is still edible. Just cut away the damaged part. Yellow shoulders is when the top of the tomato stays hard and yellow while the rest turns red. It seems related to high heat above 90 degrees Fahrenheit combined with certain varieties. There is no miracle cure. Balance your soil nutrition, choose less prone varieties, and keep good leaf cover. The hard part does not taste as sweet, so cut it off and use the rest. And cat facing, which looks alarming but is the least serious problem on the list. A misshapen, lumpy tomato covered in brown scars. It happens when flowers are exposed to cool temperatures below 58 degrees during formation. common on heirlooms and first fruits of the season. They are completely safe to eat and taste exactly the same. If you grow heirlooms, consider it a badge of honor. So that is 8 problems down, all physiological disorders. None contagious, all manageable. But now we cross into different territory. The next problem involves a creature so perfectly camouflaged that it can eat its way through your harvest without you ever knowing it is there. Until now. The tomato hornworm can grow up to 4 inches long, strip an entire plant bare in less than 2 days, and yet it is nearly impossible to spot in broad daylight. Its skin is the exact same shade of green as a tomato stem. Seasoned gardeners will tell you they have stared directly at a hornworm and completely missed it. How do you know it is there? Look for what it leaves behind. Dark round pellets, about the size of peppercorns on the lower leaves. If you see those, look up. The caterpillar is almost always above the droppings, feeding on the upper canopy. The second sign is entire leaves stripped clean down to the stem overnight. There are 2 species. The tomato hornworm has 8 white V-shaped marks on each side and a black horn. The tobacco hornworm has 7 white diagonal stripes and a red horn. Both do the same damage, and the horn is completely soft and harmless. Here is where things get interesting. For most of gardening history, the only way to find hornworms was walking row by row, squinting in the sun, hoping to spot green on green. But hornworms contain natural fluorescent pigments in their skin. When you shine an ultraviolet blacklight on them after dark, they light up like neon signs. Bright yellow-green, glowing against the dark foliage, impossible to miss. Even tiny ones you would never find in daylight. All you need is an ultraviolet blacklight flashlight rated at 365 nanometers, about $10 to $15 online. Wait until full dark, around 9 or 10 at night, and walk slowly along your rows, sweeping the light across the plants. Every glowing spot is a hornworm. What used to take an hour now takes 5 minutes. Once you find them, pick them off by hand and drop them in soapy water. For larger infestations, spray Bacillus thuringiensis, a naturally occurring bacteria that targets only caterpillars and will not harm bees or any beneficial insects. Spray late afternoon or evening because ultraviolet sunlight breaks down the bacteria quickly, and it works best when caterpillars are still small, under about 2 inches. But one critical warning. If you find a hornworm with dozens of small white cocoons on its back, looking like grains of rice standing on end, put it back immediately. Those cocoons belong to a tiny parasitic wasp called the braconid wasp. The larvae have been feeding on the hornworm from the inside, and when they emerge as adults, they will parasitize more hornworms in your garden. Killing that caterpillar would be like firing your best employee. Let nature work, and those wasps will patrol your garden all season long. Hornworms are dramatic but manageable. The final problem on our list is far more subtle, far harder to stop, and capable of wiping out every tomato garden in your neighborhood. Let us talk about the leaf diseases. Everything we have covered so far, you can recover from. But fungal leaf diseases, commonly known as blight, can actually destroy your entire crop. And there are 3 types that look similar but behave differently. Diagnose first, treat second, because spraying the wrong treatment is a waste of time and money. The first type is early blight, caused by a soil-dwelling fungus. Look at the oldest leaves near the bottom. You will see dark brown spots roughly the size of a dime, with concentric rings forming a bullseye pattern. The tissue around the spots turns yellow, and the infection creeps upward over time. Serious, but it will not kill your garden overnight. The second type is Septoria leaf spot. It also starts on lower leaves, but instead of large bullseye spots, Septoria produces many tiny spots, about a 1/4 inch across with a white or gray center surrounded by a dark border. If you look closely, you may see tiny black specks in that white center, the fruiting bodies of the fungus. Septoria does not attack fruit directly, but it causes massive leaf loss that leads to sun scald and reduced yield. Both early blight and septoria spread at a pace that gives you time to respond. But late blight is in a completely different category. It is caused by the same organism behind the Irish potato famine in the 1840s, and it is the most aggressive plant disease most gardeners will ever face. It can appear on any leaf, any stem, any fruit, all at once. The spots are greenish-brown with a pale green halo. Here is the definitive test. Pick a leaf and flip it over. If you see fuzzy white or gray growth along the edges of the spots on the underside, that is late blight. No other common tomato disease produces that. And its spores travel on the wind up to 30 miles. If you confirm late blight, act today. Pull every infected plant out of the ground. Bag it and throw it in the trash. Do not compost it. Spray all remaining healthy plants with copper fungicide as a barrier. And let your neighbors know so they can protect their gardens too. Prevention for all three comes down to the same practices. Mulch to prevent soil from splashing onto leaves. Water at the base, never from above. Remove the bottom third of leaves, even if healthy. Space plants at least 2 feet apart for airflow. Rotate crops yearly. And clean up all debris at season end. For preventive spraying, copper fungicide is the most effective home garden option. Bacillus subtilis is a biological alternative approved for organic gardening. And a simple mix of 1 teaspoon baking soda per quart of water sprayed on leaves creates an alkaline surface that inhibits fungal spores. None are miracle cures, but used preventively, they can save your harvest. 10 problems. 10 solutions. And here is what I want you to walk away with. You do not need to memorize all 10. 6 of them, blossom end rot, cracking, blossom drop, leaf roll, poor fruit set, and sun scald, all come back to one fix. Water consistently and mulch your soil. 2 more, yellow shoulders and cat facing, are cosmetic. Your fruit is still good. Hornworms are solved with a $15 ultraviolet flashlight. And blight is prevented by the same mulching and watering practices with copper fungicide as backup. The real numbers. A soaker hose runs $15 to $25. A watering timer costs $15 to $30. Straw for mulching is free to $10. An ultraviolet flashlight is $10 to $15. Total, under $50. That is less than most people spend on a single bag of specialty fertilizer, and it will do more for your harvest than any expensive product on the market. Now I want to hear from you. What is happening with your tomatoes right now? Describe it in the comments or drop a photo. I read every comment and will help you figure out which problem you are dealing with. If this video helped you, share it with a friend who grows tomatoes. This kind of knowledge should be free for everyone. Tomato plants are among the most resilient and generous plants you will ever grow. They want to produce fruit. They want to feed you. They do not need perfection. They just need consistency. Water them evenly. Cover the soil. Watch for trouble. And now you know exactly what to do. Make sure you are subscribed, because next week I am tackling another summer garden nightmare, the pest that makes a healthy squash plant collapse overnight. I will show you how to stop it before it gets the chance. Hit subscribe and the notification bell so you do not miss it. For now, go outside, check your tomatoes, and start with the simplest step. A deep, even watering and a layer of mulch around the base. That one action today is worth more than $100 of products you will never need. Happy gardening, everyone. I will see you in the next one.